Hello and welcome to this video where we'll be covering your thought processes, behaviours and habits. So I want to delve a wee bit deeper now into basically getting into the nuts and bolts of why somebody does something. So we need to understand why we do certain things, what the trigger for doing that thing was, and how to fix it and how to recognise that you're doing it in the first place. So every thought, behaviour, decision, and action begins in the brain. The brain's programmed by past experiences and learned behaviours, and you will repeat the actions based on the outcome. So, for example, you won't make a wrong, or you know what's right from wrong based on the outcome of your decision. So, somebody's more than likely not going to do something again, for example, putting their hand in burning water because they were burned, because it created a negative response, it created pain, displeasure. So, this is how we learn from our mistakes and we move on. So, I want to try and link that level of thinking with, for example, burning yourself or causing yourself pain, because not all behaviours go completely noticed. So, by that, I mean somebody who is, for example, emotionally eating, so they are self sabotaging their progress. They're doing it because they're trying to get out of pain, but for them, it's a form of relief, it's a form of pleasure. So it's giving you the tools to recognize when this may be happening in your life and how to identify it and how to solve the problem. So these repeated actions will become habits. The habits will then become completely second nature until, again, like I said, they go entirely unnoticed. And this is where our main focus should go, to uncovering what you're doing the most of or the least of. So, identifying the detrimental thought processes, behaviours, and habits. So, I want you to grab a pen and a bit of paper and pause whenever you need to answer these questions. So, I want you to think of the questions in terms of your health and fitness and everything that goes around that. So, for example, if it's what do you do too much of, it's not hoovering the living room just because you like keeping your living room tidy. This is stuff that is going to apply to you and your weight loss goals and your fitness and your nutritional behaviours, and um, whether it's just essentially something that's going to be detrimental to your progress. So, what do you do too much of? What do you not do enough of? At what portion of the day does or doesn't this occur? And how many times do you either do it or avoid it? So some of these examples could be: I don't get enough activity in every day. I spend too much time on my phone or watching TV. When I'm sat watching the TV is when I have alcohol, chocolate, or snacks. And of course, that's in excess or too frequently. I don't eat a lot during the first half of the day, but I do in the second half. I skip going to the gym or exercising in the morning as I end up snoozing my alarm and going back to sleep. I've got my gym clothes in my bag, but I get to the turn off to either go home or go to the gym from work, and I choose home more than the gym. I don't have the energy to do a workout after a full day's work. I don't have enough time to exercise and do everything else I need to in a day. And something like, I never got my walk in today as the weather was horrible. So this is why I like doing things a certain way, because I don't see these as problems. I see them as indicators. So whenever somebody says, for example, I don't have the energy to do a workout after a full day's work, somebody might see that as an excuse, and to a degree it is an excuse, but it's an indicator that something's not right in that person's life. Why don't they have the energy to do the workout after a full day's work? Why are they not motivated enough to do it despite being tired after a full day's work? Or why are they tired after a full day's work in the first place? Is their sleep off? Is their nutrition off? Are they not doing enough of something, or they need to be doing more of something? So I see these as indicators, not as problems. So I want you to start seeing this in the same light as well. So when questioning your thought processes, behaviours, and habits, I want you to start asking the questions like, why am I doing them? So, like I said, indicators, these all lead to the answers of why you behave in a certain way. So, how long have I been doing them for? Why aren't they beneficial? What am I gaining, sorry, by doing them? What am I missing out on by doing them? If I continue, why won't that get me where I want to be? Am I doing them to avoid confronting an issue? Do I think I'm able to stop them and start afresh? And what's stopping me changing right now? So if you ask those kind of questions yourself, you can then start writing them down and you can rationalize your answers from what you're saying on that bit of paper, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed and really get stuck in your own head when you're trying to figure all this stuff out, because you're like, oh, I've done it for years. It's just something that's became habit and second nature, but you don't actually know why you've been doing it. So this is why I talk about learned behaviour. So when we're talking about learned behaviour, again, it's stuff that you've grown up with, and it's stuff that maybe you've been around a lot of your life, and somebody's done that a certain way, so you've always known to do it that way. So once we can start picking apart these clues, it then leads to a light bulb moment where you go, "Ah, right, that's why I've been doing it like that," or "Ah, right, okay, I need to start doing it this way," or changing something. So this is the purpose of these questions. So when we are talking about habits, we don't try and just tell somebody to go cold turkey on something. For example, like it is a bit of an extreme scenario, but I'll use it anyway. So we've got an addict. So their addiction, say it's drugs. If you try and take that addict's drug away, what are they going to do? They're going to end up finding another drug, and they're going to just keep going the way that they're going, because they will do anything that they can to then to then continue that addiction. So when you're telling somebody not to do something, what do they end up doing? They do more of it, so it has the reverse effect, and they rebel against it. So instead of identifying any of these bad habits that somebody may have and saying, "Well, stop doing that bad habit," it's not good advice. So what you want to do is replace it with a better habit to phase it out. So for example, I'll use the coffee and the water analogy I use quite often with clients. It's if somebody's drinking too much coffee, for example, if it's an issue with caffeine, then we don't just say stop drinking more coffee, because the person obviously needs that amount of caffeine, or has been used to drinking that amount of coffee and caffeine, and that's what they need to function in that day. Now, I would delve a lot deeper into that answer and say how's their sleep, their food, their stress levels, etc. But if you were just looking to give somebody a quick solution to that problem, drink more water or dilute juice, and then they won't have the room to drink that amount of coffee because they'll always be going to the toilet. But you're replacing the caffeine potentially, if it's caffeinated, we'll just go down the route of if it is, but you're replacing the caffeine and the coffee with now just water or diluting juice, or sugar-free fizzy juice, or whatever, preferably the first two. But you then are making that person have to go to the toilet more, so they're less inclined to drink more coffee, because they're like, "Oh, I can't drink this amount of coffee and drink this amount of water or juice and keep this up. I'm going to the toilet every 15 minutes." So they then, not only are you hydrating them because you're giving them water and juice, but you're also weaning them off the caffeine and weaning them off the coffee as well, and bringing it back down to a better level. So when we are looking at somebody's habits and rituals and behaviours and thought processes, we want to start replacing and I'll use air quotations, the bad with the good. So we start to put in more good, so that we start phasing away the bad, so that the person doesn't just have nothing, just doesn't have an empty void when we take something away from them, so that they've got something else to concentrate on. So I want you to, if you need to go back through the video and answer the questions, or start from the beginning again, I want you to write all this down in a bit of paper, because your behaviours and your thought processes and your habits just now are what you're going to refer back to over the course of the 12 weeks. And then you can look at day one and go, "Oh my God, I was doing that, that, and that. And now I'm doing this, this, and this. And it's totally different. And it's totally changed the way I've been doing things." All right. So we have covered your thought processes, behaviours, and habits. I will see you in the next video.